Hello and welcome to this episode of The Inner Estate with your host, Bridget Stewart. This is a special holiday edition of The Inner Estate. I wanted to take some time and just share some holiday memories that have impacted my life from the age of a young child till now. And I'm curious, what holiday memories do you have that turned into either a lifelong passion or maybe an annual tradition? One that will not come as a surprise to anyone who watches this on YouTube is I have a great love of vinyl, and I have a pretty decent vinyl collection. You can see over my shoulder, I've got a children's Christmas album. A Christmas memory that I have that had a big impact on my life is from 1977. And my parents gave me Steely Dan's Asia album as a gift, and I was all of 10 years old. And that album, I believe, is one of the things that sparked my love of records. I grew up in a very musical household. I played instruments. My parents had an extensive record collection that we would listen to all the time. And it did spark a lifelong love, not just of music, but also of records. And not just records, even the album covers. I am one of those vinyl junkies that likes all of it, even the smell of a record store, especially a vintage one. And I've incorporated that in my life. I have a gallery wall of album covers. In my podcast, I change out the album for each episode that's right above my shoulder. And it's just something that even if I'm not listening to them, they still enhance and enrich my life. So in turn, how has that touched me in how I interact with people? When I feel like it's an appropriate gift that they would love, I like to give albums to people. I do not give them to non-vinyl collectors, because talk about a dust collecting paperweight, and they're not even that heavy. So, and not a usable coaster. So I don't give them to people if I don't know if they are a collector or not. And I just have I have them around me. I still have my turntable, and I do listen to music quite a lot. I don't listen as often as I'd like to. So in terms of what's one of the things that I'm doing for myself this holiday season and into 2026 is I'm going to listen to at least one album side a day and make sure that I vary what I'm listening to, because that's going to be a touchstone for me of leaning in on something I'm passionate about that I love. And I believe that that's going to make 2026 an even better year than it's already going to be. So I am curious, do you have any Christmas memory that you have carried out into either everyday life or that you've brought into your seasons? And if you don't, are there any traditions that you would like to incorporate into what you do at the end of the year, whatever it might be? I wanted to share some things to consider to make this holiday season one of the best for you that you've ever had. And when you make it the best for you, obviously that impacts everyone around you. So I just want to share a few ideas of things you could do that may make this time of year, and even as we get into the new year, even better. So one of the things that I think is key is to make sure that you are getting enough sleep. We are most of us chronically sleep deprived. Challenge yourself from the middle of December through the end of January. Go to bed 20 minutes earlier than you normally would. And by the way, if you're tired, go to bed. On the flip side of it, get up at the same time every day. So, really look at, are you getting good quality sleep? Are you getting enough sleep? And if you can, get more. Frankly, with circadian rhythms, this is the time of year where in most places it's easier to get more sleep because it gets dark earlier. So lean into it and get some sleep. Same token, many of us are chronically dehydrated. Make sure that you're drinking enough water in addition to other things you drink. And I know that I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist. However, I'm a human being. And if you look at the data, we tend to run pretty dehydrated and I know there's people out there, some experts that would say, oh, it's everything you drink altogether. If you think you might be, go with some good old classic water and just really make sure you're getting enough. If you've never tried Gerolsteiner, I actually love Gerolsteiner. That is just so satisfying in terms of the mineral waters. And it's one that not everyone has tried. They sell it at Trader Joe's. It's a really good one. And I was a big San Pellegrino and Perrier fan for quite a long time. Expand your horizons with your mineral water. The next thing kind of is the flip side of drinking If you do partake of either alcohol or holiday-styled ultra sugary drinks, whether they're alcoholic or not, make sure you have a glass of water in between each one and just pace yourself. And maybe have one less than you would normally have. So if you typically have like a giant coffee extravaganza with a ton of sugar and whipped cream and whatever stuff, and if you have one every day, skip. Just have one every other day. And if you're going to a party and you typically have two drinks, just have one. And always, if you are drinking, I always recommend start with a water first or a club soda or something like that. So start the evening off with a non-alcoholic, finish that entirely, and then have one, and then alternate with water in between each one. I'll just put it this way. Anyone that I coach or that I engage with or my own self, I've never regretted that. I've never woken up the next day and say like, dag nabbit, I wish that I didn't have so much water last night. I wish I had had more to drink. So it's just a thought on that. But now actually getting into whatever holiday you may celebrate or not celebrate. Maybe you prefer just the quiet time of year where the majority of other people are highly distracted with what they're doing with holidays and you enjoy the reprieve. However it manifests for you, or anything you could do that would make it even more satisfying. So I just want to share a few things that I do that adds to my enjoyment of the holiday season. And one is I like to think of someone in my life or my world where I know that they're facing either a difficulty or a grief or a loss, or maybe they're lonely. I just look for someone who, in my opinion, without asking them, I feel like they would benefit from an additional emotional touch. And usually this is not a big financial thing, although sometimes I will send flowers. But I find it's more meaningful to actually write a handwritten letter. And if you think right now, there's probably someone that pops to mind that you know if they received a handwritten letter from you, it would mean the world to them. So that's something that you're actually doing it for someone else, and yet you're going to feel good as well because you're going to know that you took that extra time and you thought about them and you sent it to them. Are you doing it for selfish reasons? Not entirely, but doesn't hurt that it makes you feel good too. And I also like to incorporate at least one half day of time that is quiet and alone. Oftentimes, depending on how the rest of the year has been, I may even have an entire day of solitude, and I like for it to be off grid. So phones on do not disturb or airplane mode, or just not with me. And I will either go and explore a park or an area that I haven't been to yet. And sometimes it's just staying at home or where I live. But think about incorporating some solitude. I find that I enjoy the social things like parties and or gatherings more when I have also counterbalanced it with having at least one day of solitude. And if one day is impossible to fit in your schedule, then at least having a half day. So make sure you're factoring that in. And then the next couple of ideas are really fun ideas. Play tourist in your own town. Even if you live in a small town, there's probably a park or a museum or a historic house or a set of shops. There's probably places in your own town that you've never been to. Certainly, if you live in a metropolitan area, of course, there are places you haven't been to. Even if or a hotel lobby. There's beautiful hotels. So just pick a day where you're going to play tourist in your own town and go to some places you have never been to, regardless of how long you've lived there. I know a place that I'm going to go to here in the Paradise Valley, Scottsdale area. I've driven past it a ton of times. I've never been to the McCormick Train Park. So I'm going to the train park. I'm going to check it out. Your area might have a botanical garden. It could have a historic church or a cathedral. Whatever it is, just get out there and be tourist for the day and check out a place in your town that you have not ever been to. If you literally have exhausted every opportunity of a place or a thing to do in your town, please put that in the comments. I'd love to talk to you if you've completely reached a saturation point with where you live. Okay, then drive half an hour away, pick another town, go check it out. So I just want to encourage you to have a combination this holiday time of some time for yourself, some time connecting to your community with some new and vibrant experiences, and reach out to someone that you know would really use it. I feel like these are all things that you could potentially just overlap with what you already have on the books. And I'd love to hear from you if you feel that it helped make this season of the year better or not. We are really coming up on an interesting time. New Year's Day is going to be the first day of the next 25 years of the century. So I feel like what better year to take a moment and add in some of these times, which may allow some reflection and some peace into your heart and some connection with where you live and your environment. I hope you found this helpful. If you have ideas of what you do to make your holiday or this time of the year special, please share it in the comments. Thank you so much and have a great day.